So I'm going to look at some of the things that are happening in Germany and Europe and take a look at what some of the countries have been able to do. One of the things I notice when I drive through Bavaria, which is in southern Germany, it's clear that something's going on. Bavaria is Texas in Germany. They would like to secede once in a while. They're extremely conservative politically. They complain about paying taxes to the capital in Berlin and all these other things that sound sort of familiar. I would say the difference is that the black gold that is in Bavaria is on the roofs of houses in the form of solar panels. Everywhere you go throughout this most conservative area of Germany, farmhouses and barns are covered with solar panels. I've counted, when I drive past, I try to count, but I can't count them. 100, 150, 200 solar panels on one very large roof, okay? Wind turbines tend to dominate the landscape in northern Germany, but the solar panels are in the south. Production of electricity from solar photovoltaics in Germany, not just in Bavaria, but in Germany as a whole, has increased by a factor of 100 in the last decade. A factor of 100. 2 decades ago, the US had the great majority of all solar photovoltaic capacity in the world. As of a decade ago, Germany had caught up and passed us. This is a remarkable transformation, especially since you have to realize, many of you probably do, that Germany's not a particularly sunny country. Even Bavaria, the southern part of Germany, has about 25% less sunlight than Ohio. If you compare on a map, then what you find is that Ohio compares most to Naples, Italy, for the amount of sunlight. If you put the same solar panels up here that you put up in Naples, Italy, you would get the same amount of electricity out. If you put them in Germany, you'd get 25% less sunlight, less electricity off those same solar panels. It's mainly characterized by just what's the latitude. And our latitude is much further south than Germany. So what's the story behind this growth in solar PV in Germany, the country that shouldn't be using it in some ways? I like to go back to the Green Party and the birth of the Green Party in the 1960s, but we don't have to go back that far. We can go back about 15 years ago when Germany enacted something called the Renewable Energy Law. In German, it's the EEG, and somehow that's quicker to say, so I'll just sometimes say EEG. Renewable Energy Law. It was passed by a coalition government of the Green Party and the Social Democrats, so a left of center coalition. And I think it was a stroke of genius. Many other countries have copied this law since then. And there are a lot of reasons why I think it's so good. One is that it started out by saying we need to avoid climate change. So this is 15, 20 years ago, they were talking about this already. The second thing is that it gave priority to renewable energy. If there's a competition between renewables and fossil energy to be fed into the grid, renewables have priority, not fossil energy, which didn't always make the big utilities happy. The third thing, and maybe it's the most important part of this, is that what this law did was the federal government spent no money. Everybody had to put their own money up front. Personal people had to put their own, families had to put their own money up front on this. And then they received a 20-year guarantee for a price for the electricity they generated with their photovoltaics, biomass electricity, wind turbines, et cetera. 20-year guarantee. And for solar photovoltaics, that guarantee started out at about twice the cost of electricity. 20-year guarantee, twice the cost of electricity. Now, the other thing that was brilliant about this was they said, all right, we're going to do that, but then every year we're going to ramp down that guaranteed 20-year price for electricity. So early adopters, you get the best deal. And as you wait longer, you're going to get less and less for your electricity. Now, on the other hand, they were counting on the fact that as time went on, photovoltaics would get cheaper and cheaper as well, so it would be easier for you to afford this. And that's roughly how it worked. That's what led to the 100-fold increase over time, was a federal government program that set up the framework for guaranteeing the price of electricity you feed in. The federal government didn't pay for it. It was, we'll talk about that in just a second, but it was a guarantee. It was just a clear framework and a clear set of rules that people could go by. I mean, one of the things is that there's a feedback here. Obviously, people were ready to elect a left-of-center Green Party, Social Democrat government. That means they were ready to make some changes anyway, so that fed back into the laws that were made possible, and then people accepted those laws and acted on them. But that's a sort of a different story. But the way I think about this is that, going back to Bavaria and the conservative farmers there, is that they're just smart. They saw this deal and they said, I'm used to buying tractors for 100,000 euros. I know I need it to run my operation. Oh, you mean if I spend, let's say, 50,000 euros or whatever the price might have been to cover my roof with solar panels, and it's going to be paid off in a couple of years, and then I'm going to get free electricity from then on? I can do the math. I'm used to the big upfront investment, and I know that this one is going to be a beautiful investment for me. I don't care about the Green Party. I didn't vote for them, but they're going to put money in my pocket. Fine. So I think that that's a big part of this, and that's why, particularly in Bavaria, you see these very large farmhouses with so much solar power. It was just a smart investment given the rules that had been set up.